Hello and welcome to Angry Andy Reviews, and this is my not quite one paragraph review of The Suicide Squad.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy. Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews. Angry Andy Reviews.
Don't make me destroy you.
The Suicide Squad is exactly what you expect from James Gunn, practically picking up the very formula of Guardians of the Galaxy, transporting it across the waves of comic bookdom and attaching Semtex to it, taking it into a factory filled with fireworks and nitroglycerin and allowing it to just completely detonate on screen. It's everything the first film should have been. It's funny, it's gory, it's got some really, really heartfelt, in-depth character moments, which we got very briefly at the start of the 2016 Suicide Squad with Deadshot and his daughter, but it never really amounted to anything else. Here, the characters are literally front and centre. Front and severed? Well, yeah, I guess some of them do get severed, to be fair. The point is that the characters are the main draw here for this film. I went in just wholly anticipating and expecting absolute carnage on screen, and yes, you get it, but what I didn't expect was some really, really thoughtful character moments, some really, really concentrated, structured lines of dialogue that really give you a sense of who these people are, and not just random characters in costume like we had with the first film. This film really, really goes to town and makes something of those C and D grade villains that barely anybody knows about. I didn't know anything about Polka Dot Man, for example, coming into this film. Didn't have a clue. I'm a Batman fan. I don't have a clue about anything. I've got a Lego minifigure of him, but that's about it. I really don't know anything about him. But in this film, even though he doesn't really say that much, you get a real sense of who that person is behind the mask, which is what we get with all the superheroes and everything. It's just wonderful to be able to get a film like this, which has a bit of fun but still has a lot of heart with it. But the thing is, and you know what they said prior to release, don't get attached to anyone. Really, you cannot get attached to anyone in this film. I wouldn't say any of the moments were particularly shocking or surprising, but they certainly weren't lying. They certainly weren't lying. And the opening 10 minutes, without spoiling anything too much, is just an absolute massacre. It's really, really an enjoyable film. And for me, this is probably the best DC movie I've seen in a very long time. It's fun. It's really thought-provoking. It's got tons of action, tons of violence. If you like action movies, I mean, it reminds me of almost like an 80s action movie in places, with just the absolute carnage that unfolds on screen. And yes, the story isn't really that great. I'm going to throw it out there. The story isn't that great for me. It's not really amazing at all. It kind of forgets itself a little bit and it struggles through the centre part. But like I said, everything is kept in check by the sheer overwhelming goodness that is the characters. Even Viola Davis as Amanda Waller almost seems like a totally different character compared to a performance in Suicide Squad in 2016. Completely different. She seems like she's having fun with it, which is the problem. I didn't get the sense that anybody in Suicide Squad 2016 was actually having any fun. Here, everybody's having a blast. Everybody is having an absolute ball. And nobody more so than Idris Elba, who is in inspired form in this film. If you're a fan of Idris Elba, you will absolutely love him in this film. And if you're not, if you're unsure about him, you know, what we've seen of him in Heimdall, I'm going to tell you right now, he was completely wasted as Heimdall. You know, and I kind of liked what he was doing with Heimdall. But here, this is Idris Elba. He has found his character in a comic book sense here in the Suicide Squad. Bloodsport is a fantastic character, but all the characters are great. Even Harley Quinn, for me, Margot Robbie's performance, this is probably the best performance of Harley Quinn. You know, from my point of view, I didn't really care much for Birds of Prey. And then we have John Cena. Brilliant. He's absolutely spectacular. That's the thing with this film. The characters are pinpoint perfect. Pinpoint perfect, even down to Weasel. You know, they're absolutely perfect. Even the ones that, again, I'm not really going to spoil it, but even the ones that don't really last that long, you get a sense of who they are. How how C grade and D grade they actually are. But then there's little nuggets of flavour in there just to make you go, oh, bloody hell, I would have liked to have seen a bit more of him. Oh, bloody hell, she had some really cool powers. What a fucking shame. That's the point. That's what's brilliant about the way this film is set out. It's unashamedly chaotic, but grounded in what matters most, even when it goes absolutely off the charts, when it goes into the realms of, I mean, balls to the wall, absolute craze. It keeps itself level, and that's a solid marker on James Gunn and his ability to juggle all these characters, all these moments, and still keep it ticking along just nicely. And when things go wrong towards the end of the film for the characters, you get a sense of the stakes, you get a sense of what they're up against and what they're going to have to sacrifice. We didn't get that with the first one, and we get that very, you know, in very small doses with the DC films in general. But here it works. Credit to James Gunn, credit to all the actors, all the cast and everything. It's really, really good fun. But like I said, the story doesn't really track all the way through. It does kind of lose itself. In the middle, it does sag. I can't really think why. I think it's somewhere to do with when they meet the rebels or something. I just didn't really buy it. I didn't see the point of the rebels actually being there. I don't really think they add much to it, apart from a brilliant sequence between John Cena and Idris Elba. I mean, Peacemaker is brilliant. Absolute brilliant character, absolute brilliant performance by John Cena. And who would have thought that? Absolutely crazy. But there you go. Hardly a review, this. More like a gushing praise, I'd have to say. But I'm going to temper it because I want to watch it again. So for me, I am very much aware of the fact that the story was quite thin in places and a lot of it was kind of superfluous. But it's a solid 8 out of 10 for me. A solid 8 out of 10. Really, really enjoyable. If you love almost classic action movies, this is it. It's much less a superhero flick than it is just a. It's the Expendables. The Expendables with superhero costumes, supervillain costumes, shall we say. That's the way it is. It's literally that crazy. But there you are. That's my. Oh, not really a one paragraph review at all, is it? But there you have it. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.